The Dead Man's Lullaby. The young man from the pharmacy delivered Betty's medications early in the afternoon. Betty liked him very much. He reminded her of her nephew Darrell, whom she rarely saw these days. It was a warm May day, and Betty sat out on the front porch talking with the young man for several minutes. She didn't know how old he was, as age was something that had become extremely difficult for her to gauge in her later years. But she figured he was probably in his 20s, as he was old enough to drive and old enough to have respect for his elders. The two of them talked about the weather mostly, and then Betty gave him a quarter tip before he left. After sitting on the porch, enjoying the warmth of the day for another few minutes, Betty finally went back into the drab, dreary old house. She took her medications into her bedroom, setting them and her pill counter out on the bed so she could divide them up for the coming week. As she did, she glanced at the old dusty radio sitting on the dresser. She hadn't played it in years, but now thought a little soft music might be nice as she prepared her meds. She switched on the radio, a loud buzz drowning out the tinny, distant sound of music. She turned the knob, searching for something soft that would come in a little clearer. There was mostly just static on the old radio, and she briefly wondered if it would work at all. As she was turning, she heard a frail voice emerge from within the static. "Betty," the voice said. It took her a moment to register what she'd heard, and by the time she did, she'd already passed the station where she'd heard it. She knew it wasn't possible that the radio was speaking directly to her, but she turned the knob back slowly, finally settling on the channel once again. It was faint, but it was there. "Betty." The voice was familiar, but she couldn't immediately identify it. "Betty," the voice said again. "Betty, my dear, is that you?" Now Betty recognized it. It was her dead husband, Bill. It couldn't possibly be, but she knew it was. "Betty, my dear." "Yes?" she managed. "That is you, isn't it?" the voice said. She gulped. "Yes, it's me." "It's Bill." "I know who you are," said Betty. "We were married for 61 years. "I love you, Betty." She felt herself tearing up. "I love you too, Bill." "How are you? How have you been, my dear?" "Alone," she said. "I've been alone." "I'm sorry, Betty," he said, sadness filling his frail voice. "I've missed you these last few years." "I've missed you too." "Can I ask you a question?" asked Betty. "Anything, my dear." "Where are you?" Bill laughed happily. "I guess this is heaven. I don't know for sure. Nobody tells you. But it's beautiful here. Bright, stunning colors like a Van Gogh painting. It's so relaxed. And best of all, there's no pain." "You're not in pain anymore?" "Oh, no," said Bill. "I feel wonderful." "But you're dead." "I am, aren't I?" He chuckled again. "Can you see me?" Betty asked. "Do you watch over me?" "No, dear, I can't see you." "How are we speaking now? How does this work?" "I don't know," said Bill. "They don't tell you anything here." "Are there others there?" "Oh, yes, lots of others." "Are they happy too?" "Everyone is happy here." "Are there people there that you know? From before?" "Oh, yes." "Like who? Who's there?" "Michael's here, Betty." Betty's mind turned to her dead son, drowned at the age of 10, and she started to cry. "He is?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Yes, Betty. He's here, and he's wonderful." "Is he still 10? "No," Bill said. "Everyone here is an adult. You should see the man he's become."